Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Blood Hunt issue 4 by Jed MacKay, Pepe Larraz and Marty Garcia. Blade has unleashed the temple of the first blasphemy on the world, retrieving it from the depths of Wakanda and dropping it into the middle of New York. Blade is quick to reveal what he plans on using the temple for, and it's to conduct a ritual that will make him the unliving DARKFORCE. This issue is also the one where it's revealed who Blade actually is, since in his series he drank some vampiric blood and it quote-unquote possessed him, turning him into an ancient vampire called Varney, who is in control of Blade's body. Again, the book is doing a lot of things out of order, since this is something that probably should have been done earlier on, not in the penultimate issue of the event. This possession is also a little bit of a cop-out in my opinion, since now Blade is kind of absolved of all his wrongdoings, and when he finally is freed from the possession, things will probably just go back to normal. No one will ever question Blade about what he did because, it's possession, it's okay, we'll go through that. I actually think it would have been an interesting turn if he was possessed, but then Blade also kind of agreed with Varney and actually wanted to become the next lord of all vampires in a bid to quote-unquote do it right this time. I think that would have been very interesting, and it would have been kind of like a cool progression to see him go from, the deputy of Dracula's vampiric horde in Noble, and then he gets more power and he's able to now kind of shepherd the vampire race into a better direction. I think that would have been quite an interesting way to take the character. As Blade oversees his new temple, Doctor Strange and Clea arrive at Doomstar to meet with Doctor Doom, begrudgingly asking him for help. I love the way that Jed writes Doom here. He's just so smug and full of himself, knowing the heroes are so desperate to ask for his aid. Strange reveals that he needs Victor's knowledge of the DARKFORCE, and Doom is happy to help, revealing that he has brought the students of the Strange Academy to Latveria to witness him as he conducts one of his rituals. And to start that ritual, he needs Stephen to give up being the Sorcerer Supreme and give it to him. It's always fun when Doom tries to gain the Sorcerer Supreme title or power, rivaling it, since it's happened quite a few times, and Doom has been at odds with Strange quite a few times, and it's always really fun to see it come to life. But for once, I'd love for it to actually come with something that actually has some meaning, because obviously this is just something for an event. This is just something that's going to happen, and then maybe he'll keep it in like 1 or 2 issues of Doctor Strange, and then it'll just go back to being Stephen. But I'd love for him to actually become the Sorcerer Supreme for quite a while, or at least like, an arc or 2, just to see like what would happen now if Doom actually finally got that power. Like, what would he end up doing in this world post Blood Hunt? While Doom and Strange work out their plan, Tigra and Hunter's Moon sneak into Asgard with Rekka, who they have hired as they have need for his enchanted Asgardian crowbar, which they plan on using to smash and open the prison cell of Khonshu, who is still trapped in Asgard since that time in Avengers where he and Moon Knight kind of tried to take over the world and rebuild it in their image. Jed has done an absolutely fantastic job of establishing a continuity within this event, but also like his own books, and then also stuff that other writers have done in previous events. Like in the first issue, we get mention of things like Empire, the Katati invasion, Secret Empire, Null's invasion, all these things, and it sets like a great sort of timeline for where everything takes place in and where everything sort of builds off one another, and I think Jed does a really good job at balancing that type of stuff within this event. Of course, it is more connected to his Moon Knight work than anything else. We've got characters like Hunter's Moon and Tigra appearing, and obviously Khonshu is now a big part of the book, and I really don't have a problem with that because these are characters who you never really see headlining a big Marvel summer event. But like I said before, why isn't their story the main part of the book alongside Blade's, not relegated to a tie-in? That's what's really confusing, because you would think that they would have Tigra and Hunter's Moon and all these Moon Knight-centric characters take center stage throughout the entire event, especially because they're the ones doing most of like the legwork. Like freeing Khonshu is like a big plan. It's better than Sam Wilson assembling a new team of Avengers to battle just little hordes of vampires. This is actually tackling the problem head on, and it's relegated to a tie-in. It's just so strange. Maybe he just didn't want to appear like he was playing favorites with these characters, you know, oh, I'm writing these in my ongoing, so they're going to be the main character of this event. I could see that definitely playing into it, but it just makes sense that they would be the main characters. Blade meanwhile begins his ritual, gathering the living Darkhold, the blood of a god from Thor, and conducting the ritual on top of the temple, his place of power, all in order to create something more than a vampire, something that Varney has been trying to do for eons. Blade's ritual succeeds and turns him into the unliving DARKFORCE, but it's interrupted by the full moon, as thanks to Khonshu being freed from prison, he brings the moonlight back to Earth, freeing it from that cloud that had covered it so that the vampires could survive. And not only that, he has brought an army of undead Moon Knights from all over the past, all led by Mark Spector. Mark's return is a much welcome one, as Jed is going to keep going on with Mark's story in a continuation of his Moon Knight run after this event, but he didn't also stay dead for very long. He only died very recently, so for him to come back just in this event, it feels a little bit weird. Again, comic characters never stay dead for very long, but this was definitely one of the shorter ones. Black Panther tries to attack Blade, but with his new unliving DARKFORCE powers to protect him, he is seemingly invincible. However, we learned that T'Challa was actually doing this on purpose and sort of leading Blade on because his heart-shaped herb has actually been healing him this entire time, so he's slowly been losing his vampirism, which means Blade doesn't really have much control over T'Challa anymore. And on top of that, T'Challa tried to stab Blade with a stake, one that he pulled from Thor's head, which allowed the god of thunder to begin to heal himself and kind of regain consciousness, leaving Thor to confront the possessed Blade along with the gathering and arriving Avengers, meaning we're about to be heading into the big battle conclusion in the next issue. Blood Hunt issue 4 is still kind of all over the place for me. It's got really great parts that you can tell Jed had a lot of fun writing, specifically when it comes to characters he's been writing for a while, like Tigra and Hunter's Moon, characters who I think maybe should have been the main focus of this book alongside of Blade, but they aren't for some reason. The book kind of just spreads itself too thin across a bunch of other characters, Avengers, you know, Blade, T'Challa, all these characters that you probably didn't really need to spread it over. You could have just focused on his own characters and Blade being the main villain. The reveal of what Blade is yeah, it's fine, but like, again, it's something that kind of absolves Blade of any wrongdoing here, and post events he probably won't suffer any sort of consequences for his actions here because again, he was possessed, so it technically wasn't him. I'd like for there to be a twist on that where it's revealed that no, Blade actually did do most of this and actually wanted to do most of this, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. We've got one issue left of the event, and yeah, I'm just not really feeling this event. It just feels like a really big nothing event, something that probably should have just been a Moon Knight and Blade crossover instead of some big summer Marvel event. I'm going to give this issue a 6.5 out of 10.